Welcome to part 7, logical division of content element with the div tag. So this is an element that does almost nothing. It does logically group together contents on your page. So we will discuss what this word logically means. It has no effect on the content until it is styled with CSS. So once we learn CSS in an upcoming section, then this div tag will have much more importance, and we'll see how it works together with these class and ID global attributes. So there's no element specific attributes for the div tag, but it is usually labeled with these class or ID global attributes. So we'll see that down below in this HTML code. All right, so here we have some HTML. It looks very similar to some of the HTML we wrote above when we learned about unordered and ordered list. We do have some headers for two different sections. We have an unordered list over here for these HTML elements. We have some list items over here within a kind of sub unordered list. And then we use an ordered list down here for these data maneuvering steps. All right, so let's go ahead and execute this cell so we can see what this HTML looks like when it's rendered. All right, so here it is, very simple. We've already seen all of these elements. Now, we're going to insert some div tags in here in order to logically separate these sections of HTML. So we have two clear sections. We have these HTML elements up here, and we have these data steps down here. So one thing we can do with the div tag is just place it around these two sections, and I need a closing tag. So the way it works is that the div tag works is that you're going to place many different elements inside of it and use it to logically separate it. And when I say logically separate it, that means there's no difference in the content after or before we create these div tags. And then we'll do it again down here for this section. So the idea is to have two different areas or two different sections of HTML, and you place all of those components, all those elements within a single div tag to logically separate them. Now that I've created these two div tags, I will execute the cell again, and you can see that there is actually no difference in the rendered HTML. So what's usually done is, in order to reference these sections, or to label them, what we do is we use either the class or ID global attribute, and those both provide a name that we can use to reference them later. So I'm going to go ahead and use the ID attribute here, and we can just think of this: how can we name this section? Well, these are HTML elements. We'll just say HTML info, and down here we have a bunch of information on data, so we'll just say ID equals data info, and that way we can reference these sections later in our CSS. So these are like references or names we can use to identify, that's why it's called ID. We can identify these sections later on in a separate part of our code within CSS. So let's go ahead and execute this cell again. You can see again there's no difference. It doesn't matter if we provided it a name or not. The rendering of the HTML will be the exact same until we add some styling with CSS. So that's the logical division of content element with the div tag, an element that does almost nothing.